Alright, shalom. First and foremost, all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakar Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of GMS, Great Millstone, who teach and rule well and continues to do so through the Spirit and the power of the Almighty, whose true name again in the ancient Hebrew, it is Yahweh, and in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew, it is Yahweh Shai. Double honors again to our apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel, consisting of the 144,000 Israelite elect men who are standing stiffly for the name of the Almighty and his only begotten Son, who are risking their lives and freedom to do so, especially in the times that we're heading into, as well as the large multitude spoken of in Revelation 7 and 9, consisting of Israelite men, women, and children who are true and sincere believers, helps that makes up the Lord's hopeful elect. To you I say shalom. This is Nahal from the GMS Jamaica camp, and just want to touch on this article real quick. As it says, exclusive, US could hit the entire International Criminal Court with sanctions soon. So it says the US could hit the entire International Criminal Court with sanctions soon. Right. Now let's read a little of the article. Right, it says here, the United States is considering imposing sanctions as soon as this week against the entire International Criminal Court, putting the court's day-to-day operations in jeopardy. In retaliation, right? In retaliation for investigations of suspected Israeli war crime. So let me read that again. So the United States is considering imposing sanctions as soon as this week against the entire International Criminal Court, putting the court's day-to-day operation in jeopardy in retaliation for investigations of suspected war crimes. Now, the United States, wants to carry out an action of sanction against the International Criminal Court for doing their job, right? The International Criminal Court is supposed to investigate war crimes, right? If a country is believed to be, in a active state of war with another country or with a group, right? There are laws put in place to protect, those who aren't active combatants, children, men, women, those who aren't directly affiliated with, that, again, active war as well. If a country is carrying out actions against another for alleged, for false, reasons as well, and they're causing a lot of destruction, death as well, that country is supposed to be subjected to investigation, right? And that's what the International Criminal Court is for. Now, Israel, the land of Israel, those Israelis, those small hats, the world sees what they have been doing, The world sees what they have been doing to the Palestinians, right? The world sees what they have been doing to over there in Gaza, in Palestine, in Syria, in Yemen, right? They've been bombing hospitals, schools, Even the very camps, where they themselves, forced civilians into, talking about, they need to get to this area in order to not be affected by it. They still had them bombed, right? Videos have been released with IDF soldiers abusing their power, and taking malicious advantage of civilians, day-to-day people, right? So this investigation that has been launched, it isn't even solely, an investigation that was launched mainly from or only because the ICC wanted to have it launched. Other countries, especially European countries, especially, countries who are also in NATO, called for this investigation, right? They called for this investigation, right? Because a lot of people, a lot of countries, are fed up with the actions that Netanyahu Bibi has been carrying out in their alleged war against Hamas, right? They're fed up, and they're also being fed up for a lot of other reasons as well, which I won't go into, but they are indeed fed up, and they've been calling for a ceasefire, and so too they've called for an investigation. Now, this action that is being taken by the United States will just put the United States in another, a deeper position of, resentment and hate as it concerns their allies, because a lot of their allies are calling for a ceasefire. A lot of their allies requested for an investigation to be done, into Israel's war crimes, right? But now with this move that America is making, the United States is making, again, it's just going to cause a more rift, which is biblical prophecy, and that's what came to mind when I first read this. Well, when I first read this, the first precept that came to mind was in Jeremiah 49, I think it's 49 and 50, where it speaks about the least of the flock drawing them out, which is essentially Israel will be the reason why America will engage in the third war, right? And we see that. So let me read a little bit more of this, and then I'll get a few of those scriptures, and that will be it. It says Washington has already imposed targeted sanctions on several prosecutors and judges at the court, but naming the court itself in the sanctions list would be a major escalation. 6 sources with knowledge of the matter, all speaking on condition of anonymity, right, to discuss a sensitive diplomatic issue that has not been publicly announced, said a decision on such, right, says a decision on such entity sanctions was expected soon. A source said court officials had already held emergency internal meetings to discuss the impact of potential blanket sanctions. 2 other sources said meetings had also been held of court member states' diplomats. One U.S. official speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters confirmed that entity-wide sanctions were being weighed, but did not elaborate on the timing of the possible move. So they've sanctioned a few members a few prosecutors, they're thinking about just sanctioning the entire organization. A State Department spokesperson accused the court of asserting what it said was its purported jurisdiction over US and Israeli personnel, and said that Washington was going to take further steps, although the spokesperson did not say exactly what. Right, because America plays into the defense of Israel, right? They always will be coming to the defense of Israel. Morning.
Good morning.
Right, so this action that is being taken against the International Criminal Court, right? It's one that isn't even surprising, right? Because America, even Donald Trump, and even Biden, when Biden was in office, they on the forefront would seem as if they had an issue with what is happening over there in the east, in the Levant. But really and truly, they didn't give a shit. They cared more about the agenda that Netanyahu, Bibi had, So of course they're going to, take actions against the International Criminal Court for the investigations that are being done against Israel. It says the ICC has the opportunity to change course by making critical and appropriate structural changes. The US will take additional steps to protect our brave service members and others as long as the ICC continues to present a threat to our national interests, the spokesperson says. So America's or the US national interest is Israel's national interest, right? A large chunk of America's budget, goes to Israel, funds Israel, right? So again, a lot of, and as it says in Obadiah, let me get Obadiah because these men don't even see what's happening, These rulers, right? They believe that they are wise and they're the greatest stuff when it comes on to economy and business, right? But they don't even see what the Heavenly Father is having them do, because at the end of the day, right, the thoughts of man, the answer of the tongue, it all comes from the Heavenly Father. The course that a man takes, the action that a man takes, the thoughts that they think comes from the Heavenly Father. It's not of themselves. That you can read that in Proverbs 21:1, I think that's Proverbs 20:4 as well, right? So it is the Heavenly Father that's causing this. And when we read Obadiah 1 and verse 7, it says all the men of thy confederacy, right, those who are in league with America, or those who are America's allies, it says all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. It says the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, right? They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. And the main point from this precept is that there is no understanding in them, right? Their allies are becoming more agitated. They're seeing where, all right, America is not for their good, and especially with the situation what's happening now between Russia and NATO, where Russian drones and aircrafts were spotted in various NATO allied countries like Estonia, Romania, Poland, right? And the response that Trump initially gave wasn't acceptable to him, right? The president then made other comments about how, if there is any escalation between Russia and any NATO country, that they would, step in and provide defense. But a lot of these European countries, a lot of these NATO-allied countries, they don't really trust America here. They don't really trust that in any high escalation, America will come to their aid, to the effect of which, they would want America to, or to the effect of which they are paying America to, because they pay a defense bill. And a lot of these countries, they pay a defense bill to America, right? Which is, I think, 2% of their GDP yearly. So it says there's no understanding in. So they don't even realize that their own allies are, setting up to turn against them, are getting more and more agitated with the actions that they're taking, right? And again, this action that is being done here by the US, believe that it will just further drive a wedge, in that crack between, the relationship between America and its allies, right? It's the same thing spoken of in Revelation chapter 17 as well, where it speaks about the whore being burnt with fire by, again, its allies, the beast, right? Verse 13. It says, Revelation 17 verse 15, it says, "And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore, which that whore is a representation of America, sitteth, and the waters are these nations, just our peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues," because America rules this world, when you look into it. I mean, they are on that golden city, they are, the ones who push forth the philosophy that this world takes on. They are the standard as it concerns how an economy is supposed to be run, governed. All of these other countries are mainly influenced by America, and America, through its military might and through commerce, have gained power and wealth, over the world, right? So it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore," right? And we're talking about NATO and the EU, right? It says, "And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So they're going to turn on America, Right? They're going to realize, oh shit, America is in for our good. We can't stay allies. Essentially, they're going to develop a deep hatred for America, deep hatred for America, right? And they're going to aid in America's destruction through thermonuclear warfare. So hey, that's pretty much it on that. I won't make this any longer. Lord's willing, this was edifying. We're going to close giving all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahashim, Haushai, Bahashim, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of James, Great and Stone. Peace, love, and salutations to the Lord's hopeful elect. Till next time, Lord's willing, Shalom.